Tanvi,
Huh?
we are recording.
Are we?
Dude, you just turned it on.
Oh my god. Okay, finally we are recording.
Yeah.
Welcome to the episode number 44 of Pages and Beyond podcast show by Tanvi. So, as promised, being it the last Tuesday of October, I have come up with a special episode with a special guest with me who recommended me to read Lessons in Chemistry, and he is my friend Siddharth. Okay,
Hi.
Siddharth, how excited are you about this episode?
I'm really excited. I've been wanting to do a podcast and to get it to do it with you. So, yeah, feeling amazing right now.
Oh, that's great. Before we dive into the discussion, let's introduce Siddharth.
Hey guys, so I'm an engineer and I'm working as a product analyst. Um and one of my greatest hobbies is to read book. And recently I've started listening to books as well. And that's how I came across Lessons in Chemistry. And when I read it, I was reminded of all the women in my life who have gone through so much. And that's why I recommended it to Tanvi because I know you've been doing so much and you're trying to live out your dream and you're passionate about books. So I thought who would be the better person, to read it. So yeah.
And as soon as I started reading this book, I just proposed Siddharth, like, can we do a podcast about this book? And there it was a thumbs up. So here we are discussing about this book. Let me tell you the agenda of today's episode. So we will be discussing different topics about this book, whatever themes we have explored in this book. And apart from that, I have also taken questions from community readers. So we will be talking about those questions as well. So let's go ahead.
So Tanvi, since you've read the book now, why don't you tell our audience about it?
Oh, I very much like to tell about this book to my friends, and this is our audience, lovely audience to know about the book. Lessons in Chemistry by Bonnie Garmus is a story of Elizabeth Zott, a brilliant chemist who faces sexism and discrimination at her workplace. And she ended up as becoming a cook on the TV show that makes her famous. So, not telling you a lot about the book inside, there were different struggles and various themes were discussed in this book that the readers will explore. So, let's dive into the questions that we have for you all.
I think you forgot about something.
Is that
Her cook show was not an ordinary cook show. She literally took chemistry from her lab and took it into her kitchen. And she presented herself as how a lady should be. And that was totally, different to all the perspective that men had of women. So I think at that point of time, they just wanted women to cook food and that's it. But she introduced chemistry in the kitchen. And the way she connected with her audience actually, made her famous.
just like salt was not salt, that was sodium chloride for her on her cook show. So, let's go ahead.
All right, then let's get started.
So, Siddharth, here's my first question for you. What is the significance of science and women empowerment in this book?
Uh, I think the book covers women and the science part quite brilliantly. I mean, as a guy who's living in the 21st century, हमें नहीं लगता कि आजकल की लड़कियों को बहुत इश्यूज फेस करने पड़ते हैं बट आफ्टर रीडिंग द बुक लाइक 1960s में क्या हाल थे वर्सेस आज क्या है सो इट गिव्स यू यू नो अ लॉट ऑफ फूड टू थिंक अबाउट फॉर एग्जांपल अब even now if you ask me that how many women do you know in science so I think I can only come up with Marie Curie as a name and उसके against में I know Thomas Alva Edison, I know Graham Bell, and I can probably name two more, Stephen Hawking, and so that just tells you कि I think still now women in science it's at least common log people who don't really follow the science world for them it's still a topic new. So if I, a person who's living in a tier 1 city, knows so little about women in science, imagine tier 2 tier 3 cities की girls को कितना पता होगा.
True.
So this has to propagate and I think the book covers that topic brilliantly to motivate करती है लड़कियों को या लड़कियों को करती है कि they should step out of their norms जो society उन पे लगाती है and they can follow their dreams. And at the same time it's a must read for guys as well to understand कि फेमिनिज्म का एक्चुअली में मतलब क्या है, why was
Right.
there necessary, and I think once they read it they look at other women, they look at their mothers, their sisters, they struggle in a very different light. So they'll start respecting them even more. And I think that the book is a must read for this generation at least.
I would like to add something to that. Like since you mentioned like about the women empowerment, so there was something that rowing. There was every time a man would interpret or interrupt Elizabeth Zott, like women in rowing. How could you do that? That is not women's stuff. So these kind of so many other stuffs are explored in this book. So we suggest like people should definitely give it a try.
Example, like you gave the example of rowing. I remember another example where she's given her job back at a time.
Right.
She's a chemist,
Hmm.
right? But then the head of the department calls her a lab assistant
Hmm.
just because she's a woman. And the funny part is, all the other scientists, they get their work verified from Elizabeth.
From Elizabeth, right?
So, and everybody has turns a blind eye to what's happening towards her because it's just so normal in 1960. So that was kind of irritating as well. But then that tells you that आज भी ऐसा पक्का होता होगा.
Like she was expelled from her job, from her laboratory. She was expelled for a stupid reason.
They just wanted her out because
But when they realized that she is of use and she can help them in achieving their goals,
right,
they approached her. That was like very mean and selfish of them.
right, and they would,
So
and nobody gave her credit.
True, and that was the main thing. Like without giving her credit, they were expecting like she helped them. And when she started her own laboratory, they tried to pull her down at that time as well.
Right.
So these were the few things about science and women in this book.
But Elizabeth's character is like brilliant. Like she destroys her own kitchen to make a laboratory for her own self.
That was just amazing. Like I don't want to cook. I want to do experiment.
So Tanvi, you've read the book and it talks about the discrimination women faced in 1960, right? What sort of discrimination women still face like in today's scenario? Because as a guy, हमें नहीं पता लगता ज़्यादा because है ना we are accustomed to it. हम बहुत conditioned हो जाते हैं. But what's your take? What's the insight? Are women still mistreated, and if yes, कहाँ पे?
Okay, well, since you asked this question, तो जैसे हमारा प्रोग्रेस का ग्राफ बढ़ता है ना, तो कुछ चीजें हम बेटर करते हैं, तो वैसे ही ना ये प्रॉब्लम्स चेंज हो गई है, बट डिस्क्रिमिनेशन अभी भी है. फॉर एग्जाम्पल, इफ आई नो पीपल एट डिफरेंट वर्क प्लेसेज लाइक वेयर दे वर्क, so they have faced discrimination based on their menstruation cycle, pregnancy, or maybe when they are getting married. I have my example also. One day I was not feeling well, and I wanted to take a leave, but I was not allowed because I was just needed, I don't know for what sake, but I resisted to work because I was not feeling well, and I just said ki आज तो नहीं हो पाएगा, I can't do it today at any cost. So after some days, what I realized, the boss, the person above me, he thought like I might be having menstrual cycle of that month, because the reaction or the taunt he put it on me, he threw on me, was something I don't remember now, but कुछ ऐसा ही था कि मेरे को ऐसा फील हुआ कि इसने सोच लिया पीरियड क्रैम्प्स हो रहे होंगे भाई इसको. So it's like people still think कि women make excuses out of the special abilities they have, given by, like, that's not them who choose it, that's the universe who lended that to her. Right. So that is something people are not still understanding even today in 21st century where we are. So the focus is like understanding the rights of women is not it. उसको फेमिनिज्म में कन्वर्ट कर देते थे, बोलते थे फेमिनिज्म है, फेमिनिज्म का झंडा लेके चल दिया ये तो ऐसा नहीं होता है. जो चीज है तो है. इनफैक्ट इफ आई टॉक अबाउट फीमेल बॉसेस, सो आई हैव फ्रेंड्स हु कम अक्रॉस सच फीमेल बॉसेस जो नहीं समझते हैं. दे थिंक अब फीमेल बॉस है, हमारी एज के अकॉर्डिंग अगर हम देखें तो वो बड़े ही हो गए हैं हमसे, मे बी उन्होंने उतना इंटेंस नहीं फेस किया होगा जितना हम फेस कर रहे हैं. हमारा रहना खाना सब चेंज हो गया, तो उसकी वजह से हमारी बॉडी में चेंजेस भी तो आए हैं ना, हमारी फिजिकल हेल्थ में चेंजेस आए, बट दे डोंट अंडरस्टैंड. वो कहते हैं अरे ये सब बहाने हैं, ये सब नहीं चलेगा, तुम बहाने मार रहे हो, अरे ये सब कुछ नहीं होता है. लाइक द वर्ड्स लाइक ये सब कुछ नहीं होता है, यू डोंट अंडरस्टैंड मैन, दैट इज समथिंग एंड दैट कैन इम्पैक्ट माई लाइफ. सो इट्स लाइक हमारा लाइफ स्पैन सबका कम हो गया है, एंड वी डोंट नो हाउ लॉन्ग वी आर गोइंग टू लिव. और अगर हम ऐसे अपनी जो प्रॉब्लम्स हो रही हैं उनको पुराने ज़माने के हिसाब से अगर चेंज नहीं मतलब एक्सेप्ट नहीं करेंगे कि पहले तो नहीं होता था, अब क्यों हो रहा है, तो फिर हम आगे नहीं बढ़ पाएंगे, हमारा लाइफ स्टाइल और कम हो जाएगा क्योंकि हमने तो अपनी प्रॉब्लम इग्नोर कर दी है।
हम्म.
उसकी वजह से जो और बड़ी प्रॉब्लम्स आएंगी तो वो तो फिर हमें प्रॉब्लम ही मतलब हमें इम्पैक्ट करेंगी इन सम और अदर वे।
So somewhere I think still like abhi bhi men they don't understand issues of women completely,
हम्म,
and somewhere I think women also fail to support other women,
ट्रू, लाइक
right? And I
बोथ
think
वेज।
it's mentioned in the book as well, and I
यस,
think it's happening right now. And I think थोड़ी और discussions, थोड़ी और open
ओपन
discussions,
डिस्कशन वी नीड।
and and anything broader channels पे इस चीज़ के बारे में और थोड़ी खुल के बात होनी चाहिए, so that guys they also understand कि actual में feminism का मतलब क्या है,
मतलब क्या है, राइट।
equality, what does
हम्म,
equality means, and जो लोग थोड़े सीनियोरिटी पे हैं या मे बी जिनके साथ हमारा थोड़ा जनरेशन गैप है, वो भी थोड़े सेंसिटाइज हो जाएं,
like
उनको भी समझ
changing
में आए.
according to the
हाँ.
environment, changing according to the age, changing according to the changes that are happening around us. So
Right.
basically, when we talk about equality, we need to change the definition of equality.
Mhm.
So equality should come as the needs of men and women. It should not be like men को ये मिल रहा है तो women को भी यही मिलना चाहिए, या women को ये मिल रहा है तो men को भी वो मिलना
हम्म.
चाहिए। जैसे ही वो मेंस्ट्रुअल लीव्स की बात आई थी, लाइक गवर्नमेंट प्रपोज इन सम कंट्रीज और मे बी इन इंडिया इन सम कंपनीज, पीपल वर लाइक ये तो स्पेशल है, वुमेन को क्यों मिल रहा है?
हम्म.
You are not getting menstrual cycle every month, she is getting, so she deserves it because she undergoes pain, not you.
Right.
So equality should not be based on something similar, but it should be based on the needs and the demands of the situation of each gender. What is the significance of love and friendship for you in with respect to Elizabeth Zott?
I think Elizabeth, when we get to know the character, she's very closed to other humans. She's not very open. She's not very, receptive towards love, because somewhere she knows that being in love would mean she has to give up on her career, and she's got to be a housewife and then have a family, which was the notion at that point of time. And yet she falls in love. The love finds her, and I believe the primary driving force behind Elizabeth's whole career and the character that gets developed, uh, be it with her daughter, with her partner, uh, with her neighbor, right? Or the friendship that she gets from the producer of the TV channel,
TV show.
right? Uh, that's all propelled by love. So we see towards the beginning, love has no space in her life, and towards the end, she thrives because of love, and then she becomes an open person, and she gets into that comfort zone. So I believe in anybody's journey, love and support from others, right, plays a very pivotal role, and it cannot be ignored completely. So I think whoever is there struggling, you know, if only and we know, some people in our lives, if we can only just reach out to them, perhaps they just need some love, some attention, and some care for them to bloom
Flourish.
and flourish. Yeah.
It's like that her journey, like she never wanted to get married, she never wanted to have kids, but she had it all. Although she could not get married, there is something behind that that you can find in the book itself. We will not disclose that.
Yeah.
So it's like whatever she never wanted, she had achieved that
Right.
throughout her journey since she met with
Calvin
Calvin
Evans. Yeah.
Evans. One more thing, what about the favorite parts that you have had in this book?
Uh, okay, so the favorite part of the book is when Elizabeth, she gets her dog, right? And she names her 630, as in the number 630. And the book has chapters where 630 does the narration from his point of view. So those parts and those moments are genuinely, like, I enjoyed it. They are the favorite parts, highlights for me. However, there's another uh, part that I remember. It's not like I really enjoyed it, but I remember it because it was really heartbreaking for me, and that had actually set the tone for the book, like, which was when Elizabeth was abused once, and she called for help, and the police they rather than helping her, questioned her for her modesty and her reason for being out late when she was just doing her work. Like she was just doing her work, being sincere, and somebody took wanted to take advantage of her. So that kind of broke my heart. So that is one particular episode that stays with me from the book. And at the same time, yeah, if you ask me like about the fun parts and the great parts, it would be 6:30.
Yeah, if I talk about honestly the favorite character of mine, if a dog is taken as a character, so 630 would be my favorite character.
Definitely.
And other than that, her daughter Madeline, like she was a prodigy child. I just loved her role
Yeah,
and the way she questioned her mother about anything or everything. And since at a very younger age, she was questioning like beyond her age. If we say we consider questions according to the age, then she was very young about those questions like what
absolutely.
about father, like why did you not marry him, like so many things were there she came to know from other people around her.
Right, right.
So that was it. Apart from these questions, like we are done with our question, I have taken some questions from the readers from the community, so we will go through those questions now. Moving on to the first question from one of the readers, Lavanya. So Siddharth, I want you to become society for some time and answer this question. How much unwed women with kids are acceptable in this society?
Okay, that's a very pointed question, and I'm not sure if I'm qualified enough to speak for the society. Uh, but if I am being very honest and not sugarcoating anything, we have made a lot of progress when it comes to uh, uh, you know the freedom women get, or again, my opinion, right?
As a society.
In this society, right? We see women now taking on leadership roles. We see them taking more and more responsibilities, leading corporates or running businesses of their own, right? Somewhere, I think the topic of being an unwed woman with children does not still fit within the society's norms, because uh, maybe somebody is not maybe saying something directly, but I've heard, or I've felt when I've talked in my family or within my peers, people do give side eyes, people do talk,
True.
right? And and since I know that these things, they do reach to that particular individual, right? And they do affect them. So if you ask me how much we accept them, I think it would be a lie if we say society accepts them completely, or if it's totally normal. It's not normal for the society, no, irrespective of what anybody has to say. And there's still a long way for us to reach to a point where we start seeing a woman as a woman, and not as a mother, not as a wife, right? And although these are the roles they take upon, but even if they're not married and they have children, or if they are separated, still have children, or they're married and they don't have children, right? Should not reflect upon their character or their capabilities. It's a matter of their personal choice, and it should be left at that. The way men have, right? If a man doesn't want to marry, does not want to marry, right? If he wants to be a father, that's fine. So men get a lot of free passes, right? Or they're let go. They don't have any much responsibilities to take care of. Women, however, though the society makes sure that the responsibility of running a successful family is solely put on a woman,
A women.
and if a woman is not doing it, like if she's not does not have a husband and have, so people question her,
True.
which is wrong.
Yeah, exactly. So although his answer was a lot diplomatic as a society, but yeah, let's accept it for now.
Yeah. Tanvi, I see another question which I want you to answer.
Okay.
It is from Kushi, and Kushi asks that how much do you think the inclusivity, gender inclusivity, has increased, especially when we talk about the STEM courses like in science, technology, mathematics. So, do you think it has increased? Do you think it is still struggling? What are your thoughts?
If I talk about STEM based courses or jobs, so we have seen a increment in that. So that it has increased a lot. But at the same time, if we talk about tier 2 or tier 3 based people or women specifically, so they are still pulled back. There's a long way to go. Although we are progressing, we need to work on it.
I think still the ratio is still not like 50-50.
50-50, yeah.
Like I know in my batch, like engineering batch, I think in the batch of 100 guys of mechanical class, hardly one or two girls.
Oh,
So I think yeah, they're getting there, but still a long way to go.
yeah, definitely.
So Tanvi, now that we have discussed the book at length, uh, and for the audience who are still with us, who are still watching, uh, why should they read this book? Quick pointers.
Okay, so the readers who are still here listening to us, why should you recommend this book? Because this is a mix of humor, thought provoking ideas, and some serious topics discussed about like women and the corporate life of the women, discussing about gender biases in the society. This book brilliantly blend all these things together.
Yeah. And if you want something which feels good, feels like, oh yes, winning at life. So yeah, this book is really nice.
So this was all about this episode. If you have read this book, do share your experience with us.
If you've read this book, brilliant. Let us know how you felt about it. And if not read this book, I would recommend you please go ahead, purchase a copy, or you can read it on Audible, and let us know again how you feel about it.
Since he has made me read this book, so you should listen to him at least because I enjoyed this a lot. If you're an author or a community of readers and writers who wish to spread the word about yourself, do let me know through my Instagram handle, Pricked Insight.
And also don't forget to subscribe to Tanvi's YouTube channel as well as her Spotify channel, and never miss any update about more amazing books.
Stay tuned for the next episode.